everyone, I'm Jessica at DIY Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make a produce bag using just a few things that you might have around the house already. What I'm actually using are scarves, and I had quite a few of these laying around, and I sometimes wear them and sometimes I don't. Usually I don't, and so I thought I'd put them to good use. The reason why I chose scarves, for a few reasons. One, they're really, really light, so they're not going to cause any more charges to your already high grocery bill, I'm sure. And I also really like that they're already stitched around the edges. The edges are already sealed, so it makes sewing them a breeze. I'll show you this one. I don't know if you could see that, with the sewing around the edges. And so that just means we only have to sew a couple of edges. So I'm going to get started right now to show you how to do it, and this is part of our 12 Days of Christmas series. I just want to help show that it's easy to create Christmas gifts that can be used throughout the year, that are affordable and made from materials that you may already have at home. It's just a great way to tell your loved ones that you love them and give them purposeful, useful gifts. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the step-by-step process.
Hi again. So these are the things that you'll actually need to assemble your produce bag. You'll need some scarves. Any will do. Rectangles work well, and so do squares. Probably not circles. That would be somewhat difficult. And just make sure that they're in good condition. And then you'll need some kind of cording of some sort. You can also choose to use ribbon if you'd like. I just had this cording already hanging out around the studio. You'll need some pins just to help you keep your fabric together as you sew, some scissors, and then you'll also need a sewing machine. You don't need any fancy stitches. We're just going to use a straight stitch. I'll show you the one that's listed on my sewing machine. We'll just use this one right here, and then let me show you how to put this thing together. So right now I already have the machine already and threaded with some black thread. You can choose to use any color thread that you want. If you want to make your produce bag a little bit more funky, you can choose to add a coordinating or a contrasting color, but today I'm just using black. And so what you'll first need to do is fold over the top seam of your already made bag. And you also then want to take your cording and cut that to size. With this cording, it's more of a, well, it's actually more cording rather than a ribbon. You can also use ribbon, but what I'm doing right here is just sealing this in and making a little pocket. So think of it as this is a long worm and you're just giving him a cozy little hiding place. And so you'll continue to pin him into his cozy little sleeping bag here, all the way down to the edges. Now I've already pinned all of the edges, and that cording is now snug and secure in its little pocket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cording and I'm going to knot it at the end. And that makes it so it won't easily slip out of its little cozy little envelope when it is finished. With this cording, it's somewhat difficult. It likes to unravel, and that's another thing, another reason why we will want to knot it. With ribbon, my friend Ticey a couple years ago showed me how to actually burn it with some matches, burn the edge, and that actually gives a really nice clean edge to ribbon, so that's a great helpful tip. So what you just make sure you do this before you do any of your other sewing. If you do and you forget this step, it makes it really difficult to get this cording or ribbon back into the sleeve. So that's why we're going to secure it then. Right now, the next step is we're going to bring it over to your sewing machine and then lift up the foot. Actually, I'm going to turn it the other way. I put pins in, and some people prefer to sew with the pins in. I choose not to, just because I've had many instances where my actual sewing machine needle hits the pin and then it either goes flying up in the air or my needle breaks. So I like to remove them all along the way. So I'm going to get started here sewing.
started, the first thing you do is sew through it, and then you hit your backwards mechanism on your sewing machine to make it backwards, and then you move forward again. That just helps lock in that stitch. And so like I said, I'm going to remove it along the way, and then I'm going to sew down the entire length of that little sleeve, that little envelope. And I'm going to make sure I'm not going to be hitting the cording or the ribbon. Hi. So the next part, we've already sewed all the way through. We're just going to trim off that long cording, or that thread, and then you can see, oh, and I'll trim off the other. That doesn't look so pretty. You can see how, once you gather this, how great that's going to be a perfect little cinched closure for your produce. Now, as lovely as this is, we still have a pocket to make. Right now, there's nothing. So what we're going to do is take up the sides, and we're going to pin it all along the sides here, and then all along the bottom, so that we're going to have an envelope of some sort. We're just making a little pouch for our produce to sit in. So I'm probably just going to pin the edges, and not very often do I use pins. I hate using pins. The reason why is because it's so time consuming, and if I can get away with not using pins, I do. So you could try doing that if you like. The only thing is this is slippery fabric, and it's much more difficult to sew through just because it wants to slip and slide on your sewing machine. So do whatever you choose. Just make sure when you're sewing, you are not going to sew that top little envelope that you made. You're going to go directly up to that, the one that your cording's coming out of, but do not close it, because if you close it, you're not going to have any way to cinch your bag closed. So I'm going to pin it right now, just on the edges, and then I'll show you how to sew it. Okay, I just pinned the edges, and I'm going to sew it. I'm going to start actually at the bottom of the envelope, just because then I can continue all the way around making this L shape, all this L line all the way down, and then I have less pickups and stops for sewing. I'll show you what that looks like, and that will go pretty fast. I'm going to lift up the foot, trap it under the foot, and then I'm holding it kind of taut so I can make sure I'm doing a straight line connecting those two pieces together. And then reverse, and then forward again. Taking out the pin. And then I just simply pick up the foot and pivot it. And then once again, I'm going to just hold it taut again. And now do the long edge. And once again, like I said, make sure you do not sew through the cording pocket. Go straight up to it, reverse, straight up again, and then call it good. Pull it away. So see how we did that? We did not sew that cording together. So we have our bag, which is great. It's almost done. I'm going to cut any loose threads that I have. I think that's it for loose threads. And then I'm just going to simply turn it inside out. Oh, that is so cute. This is going to be the most cute and adorable produce bag that I've ever seen. We're going from crinkly old plastic that is horrible from the environment to something cute, adorable, earth-friendly, maybe possibly even a little bit sexy if you could make produce bags sexy. So you just take your produce when you're at the market, plop it in, make sure you tie up your cording, and you're good to go. So thank you so much for visiting DIY Studio. You can go to www.diystudio.net for any of my classes, and then also www.diystudio.net/blog for any other 12 days of Christmas gift giving ideas. So thank you so much for visiting me. Thanks for making the earth a better place with really cool produce bags, and happy gift giving. Thanks. Merry Christmas.